I was halfway through pouring my coffee, hazelnut, cream, 2 sugars, when my inbox lit up with the subject line, immediate transition, CFO role. That's when I knew. I didn't even need to open it. My hands shook as I set the mug down, hot liquid sloshing over the rim. Drew Langston, our brand new CEO, half my age and twice as smug, had pulled the trigger. Said I was too old school in a room full of people I trained. I didn't fight. I walked out that day with nothing but my pride and a plan. 6 weeks later, I was standing in his office, only this time I wasn't wearing my CFO badge. I was wearing his competition's colors. I looked him in the eye, smiled, and said, "Didn't think you'd see me again. Did you?" Before we continue, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I honestly love reading each one. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, let's get started. It's a Wednesday, 7:43 in the morning, and I'm standing barefoot in my kitchen in this old midtown apartment that still smells like jasmine from the candle I forgot to blow out the night before. I've got my favorite mug in my hand. It says Finance Queen in gold foil that's chipped at the edges, and I'm trying not to drop it because my fingers are literally buzzing. I'm 45. Been in Atlanta 18 years. Born and raised in a sleepy little neighborhood outside Charleston. But this city? This has been home longer than anywhere else. This skyline raised me. The hustle, the pace, the way folks pretend they don't see each other in elevators, but make eye contact at red lights. I don't know. It fits me. I used to be the chief financial officer at Verity Sync. FinX startup turned mid-size rocket ship. I joined back when we worked out of a co-working space that smelled like cold pizza and ambition. No windows, just whiteboards and caffeine. I was there when we closed our first $5 million round. There when we hired our first HR manager. There when we outgrew 3 buildings in 5 years. My office before the axe, corner spot, floor-to-ceiling glass, view of the Midtown skyline. You could see Piedmont Park if you craned your neck left. And on my whiteboard, my glass whiteboard, were layers and layers of numbers, goals, strategies. Stuff only I could decode. That board was like my brain's fingerprint. Then, Drew Langston happened. Phew, Drew. He swept in like a boy band lead singer trying to pivot into tech. 30. Shiny loafers. Teeth too white. Hands too smooth. Smile that didn't reach his eyes. The board brought him in because he had that Silicon Valley pedigree, some startup in Palo Alto, some exit with a B in front of it. Everyone acted like he was Moses coming down from the mountaintop with a tablet full of stock options. Day 1, he walks into the main conference room, claps his hands, and says, "Let's disrupt this place." I kid you not. He actually said that out loud. Then he pulled out a slide deck with words like synergy, decentralized monetization, and scaling the legacy firewall. It was like tech Mad Libs. But me? I smiled. I took notes. I asked questions. Because I'd been through flashy before. I'd survived 6 CEOs, 2 rebrands, a merger, and a hostile board shakeup. I knew how to play the long game. But this wasn't that kind of game. Week 2, we're in an exec strategy meeting. Drew looks around the room, all of us who'd kept the ship floating through 2 economic dips, and says, "We've got to purge legacy thinking." Then, he looks right at me. Right. At me. "Now listen. I've got thick skin. This is finance. I've been talked over, iced out, mansplained, and underestimated so many times I could write a damn dissertation on it. But something about the way he said it? The way he smiled after, like it was a compliment? Yeah, that stayed with me. And then, that email. Subject line. Immediate transition. CFO role. No warning. No face-to-face. Just a corporate body bag and a bullet point list of who's taking over interim responsibilities. You ever felt your whole body go cold, but you're still holding something warm? Like your brain's trying to catch up, but your heart's already sprinted 10 blocks ahead? That was me, right there in my kitchen, coffee in one hand, future slipping through the other. I didn't reply, didn't schedule a meeting, didn't beg or even blink. I showed up, packed my desk into a single box, and walked out in heels that made more noise than I felt comfortable with. There were hugs, some awkward eye contact. One intern cried, I didn't even know she liked me that much. I kept my chin up, smiled when someone said, "You're gonna land somewhere amazing." But when the elevator doors closed, I stared at my reflection in the brushed steel and thought, you idiot. You let this happen. You saw it coming, and you still thought playing nice would save you. That night, phew. I opened a bottle of bourbon, Knob Creek, neat, sat out on my tiny balcony, and just stared at the skyline. The air was humid. The cicadas were loud. And my stomach felt hollow. There's this ache when something's been ripped out from under you, something that used to define you. Your morning routine, your calendar alerts, the little rhythm of being needed. Gone. And look, I wasn't just some clipboard-carrying number cruncher. I was the reason that company ran. Every risky hire Drew made, I vetted the budget for it. Every platform we expanded into, I ran the numbers that got us greenlit. Hell, the office layout? My suggestion, 'cause I knew productivity dips when marketing sits too far from product. But none of that mattered. To him, I was just old school. I don't remember falling asleep. I just remember waking up the next morning, still in my blazer, with one heel missing, and that same bourbon glass half full on the coffee table. Something snapped in me that night. Not in a breakdown way. In a click way. Like, okay, you took my title, my paycheck, my seat at the table. Cool. But you forgot I built that table. So I started thinking, planning, remembering who owed me favors, who respected me, who might be willing to talk. Because while I walked out quietly, oh honey, I was done being quiet. The first 2 weeks felt like standing in the middle of a room that used to be full of noise and realizing the sound's been off the whole time. My alarm still went off at 6. Same tone, same vibration pattern. I still shuffled to the kitchen in my slippers, still made my coffee, hazelnut, cream, 2 sugars. Still opened my laptop like muscle memory. But then, nothing. No pings. No emails. No, can you hop on a quick call? Or, we've got a problem in procurement. My inbox was a ghost town. The only calendar reminder was some leftover dentist appointment from 3 months ago. I remember just staring at the screen, my hands on the keyboard, waiting for something to happen, for someone to need me. I even thought maybe, someone would call, ask what happened, say they were sorry, or at least curious. They didn't. My sister called, though. Said, "You sound rested for once." I laughed. Said I was finally taking a break. She told me I deserved it. That maybe this was a sign from the universe. Yeah, the universe and Drew Langston must be on a conference call. My friends texted me memes, invited me to brunch. One of them, Rachel, said, "You've been working since Y2K. Maybe it's time to breathe." And I smiled, nodded, said all the right things, but I wasn't breathing. I was drowning in stillness. Because here's the thing no one tells you. When your identity is tied to what you do, who you are in a boardroom, what your nameplate says, how many people CC you on decisions, and that's suddenly yanked away, you feel invisible, unmoored. And I was angry. But not just at Drew. Not even mostly at him. I was angry at me. For thinking that if I kept my head down, stayed loyal, delivered every quarter, I'd be safe. Untouchable. I played the game like it was chess, but Drew showed up with a sledgehammer and just knocked the board off the table. I must have replayed that last boardroom meeting 20 times in my head. Every detail. The harsh overhead lighting. The smell of overpriced hand sanitizer. Drew's stupid designer sneakers kicked up on the chair next to him like he owned the damn place. I was mid-sentence, presenting a projected revenue stream with 5-year runway, when he cut me off. "Let's simplify this," he said, like I was teaching trigonometry to toddlers. Then he leaned back, gave that thin-lipped smile, and said, "Thanks, Sienna, for everything you've done so far. So far. It was the kind of line you throw out when you're already walking someone to the door in your head. I should have snapped back, should have pulled receipts, should have stood up, slammed my folder down, and said, I am the reason this company didn't drown during the pandemic. But I didn't. I just smiled, nodded, took my damn seat like the good soldier I'd always been. And he took that silence as permission. That's what stung the most. 2 weeks in, after one too many sleepless nights and not enough food, I cracked. Googled him. Typed in Drew Langston Verity Sync like I was looking up an ex I couldn't stop stalking. And there it was. In black and white, front page of some fintech newsletter. Verity Sync rebranding for next era of disruption. New logo, new vision, staff reduction planned, staff reduction. The man had barely unpacked his Herman Miller chair, and he was already gutting the soul out of the company. And that's when it hit me, I wasn't the only casualty. I was just the first. So I started reaching out. Quietly, subtly, coffee invites, catching up texts. I slid into a few LinkedIn DMs like a middle-aged finance ghost, asking how things were going, how the new regime was treating people. Some had horror stories, others gave me vague emoji replies. But one message changed everything. Carly Thomas. She'd been on our financial ops team for 3 years before jumping ship to a smaller firm 6 months prior. Bright. No BS. She used to finish my sentences in budget meetings. I messaged her. She replied in under 10 minutes. We met for drinks at this rooftop bar in Old Fourth Ward. I wore jeans and a blazer, old habits. She was already 2 sips into her Aperol spritz when I got there. You look different, she said, tilting her head. Fired? No. Lighter. I laughed. A real one. First time in weeks. We swapped war stories, shared a few snide jokes about Drew's obsession with buzzwords. But then she got quiet, looked me dead in the eyes and said, They need someone like you. I blinked. Who's they? She leaned in. Core Vest. Now I'd heard of them. Up-and-coming fintech player. Clean UX. Tight analytics. Based out of Atlanta, but scaling fast. Young team, but smart. Hungry. I raised an eyebrow. They hiring. They're building. They need someone who gets financial infrastructure, but can also speak strategy. Someone who doesn't just know spreadsheets, but people. She took another sip. Someone like you. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was anxious. Because my brain was on fire. It had been so long since I'd felt that kind of pull. That spark of possibility. Like, maybe this wasn't a death sentence. Maybe it was AF *****ing rebirth. 3 days later, I met Wes Faulkner, founder of Corvest, early 40s, wore jeans and Allbirds to a steakhouse, ordered a Negroni and asked 0 small talk questions. Just got to it. He asked what happened at Verity Sync. I told him the truth. He didn't flinch, just leaned back and said, Sounds like you got out just in time. Then he said the one thing that made my entire body go still. We don't have room for politics here. Just results. I sipped my wine, looked him dead in the face, and said, Then I'm your girl. He smiled. Consultant role to start. Run point on strategy. Full autonomy. We'll see where it goes. I didn't even need to think. Done. I walked out of that restaurant that night not as someone who lost their title, but as someone who just traded it for freedom. Because you know what's more dangerous than someone who's been fired? Someone who's finally free. The first week at Corvest felt like someone handed me back my voice, but this time, handed me a megaphone with it. It was wild. No stiff boardroom chairs. No filtered water machines that cost more than my first car. No layers of approval that made every decision feel like a hostage negotiation. Just work. Real work. Smart people. Fast moves. The kind of energy I hadn't felt since Verity Sync was just 5 of us sharing lukewarm coffee and a folding table. Wes wasn't kidding about autonomy. First day, he slid me the government RFP packet, the same one Verity Sync had been eyeballing for months, and said, This is the kill shot. Think you're up for it. I didn't even blink. Absolutely. Now, let me tell you about this RFP. It wasn't just a regular pitch. It was a monster. 8 figures. Federal level contract. Multi-year. Fintech infrastructure. High stakes. High visibility. Whoever landed it would be catapulted into the upper leagues, basically overnight. And guess what? Verity Sync was the frontrunner. Of course they were. Drew probably had interns making TikToks about the damn proposal. But see, that's the thing. That boy plays for optics. I play for blood. So I did what I do best. I went quiet. I studied the RFP like scripture. Spent hours curled on my couch with highlighters and Post-its, marking every hole I knew Verity Sync would fall into. I could hear Drew's thought process in every assumption baked into their pitch. Flashy features. Scalable this. Disruptive that. Buzzwords with no backbone. Meanwhile, I focused on what mattered: security, user compliance, long-term ROI, real-world use cases. I designed our pitch to expose every blind spot I trained Drew to ignore. And Wes? He let me cook. He didn't second-guess me, didn't micromanage, just checked in every few days with a need anything and then got out of the way. That freedom? God, it unlocked something in me. I wasn't just building a proposal, I was building a blueprint for revenge. And it felt damn good. I brought in 2 analysts I trusted, a UI designer from my old team, even had late-night whiteboard calls with Carly while she wore under-eye masks and drank boxed wine. We were scrappy, lean, ruthless. Our little war room was my apartment. We'd spread out laptops on the floor, music low, Thai takeout on the coffee table, wine flowing. One night, I looked around and just felt it. That old spark, but brighter, fiercer. There was this one moment, late Thursday. 2 weeks in, I was sitting cross-legged on the floor in leggings and an oversized hoodie, laptop overheating my thighs, scrolling through an API compliance document, and Wes messaged, "You're dangerous when you're pissed off." I like it. I laughed so loud I scared my neighbor's cat off the balcony railing. And he was right. I was pissed. Not just at Drew, but at every man who ever smirked when I opened my mouth. Every boardroom that cut me off. Every time I was called too intense, too serious, too much. Now, I wasn't apologizing for any of it. I was weaponizing it. That shift inside me wasn't subtle. It was like pulling off a mask I didn't even know I was wearing. I stopped waiting for someone to invite me into the conversation. I started the conversation. And the proposal? Oh, honey, it was lethal. We mapped out the entire life cycle of the software. Built in phased rollouts. Streamlined auditing tools. Preempted legal and compliance. I even wrote a section that walked through how government employees with 0 tech training could use our dashboard in 5 clicks or less. No fluff, just fire. And then came the twist. 2 weeks before the final pitch, I got a tip. A former Verity Sync colleague, someone who still had a pulse on the office grapevine, messaged me, "Langston doesn't know you're on CurveS's team. He thinks you ghosted the industry." I stared at that text for a solid minute. Let it sink in. He had no idea. No wonder I hadn't seen him at any of the pre-bid panels. He thought I was out. Benched. Dust on his boots. And just like that, the whole thing shifted for me. This wasn't about the job anymore. This was about the look on his face when he saw me walk into that pitch room. About taking everything he thought he understood about me and flipping it. So, we turned it up. CurveS's team worked like a single organism. I coached presenters, rehearsed transitions, built backup decks. We even did a dry run with an actual government consultant who grilled us harder than any official panel could. And every night, when I climbed into bed, exhausted, wired, hungry for more, I'd picture that conference center. For teams presenting. Drew sitting there, smug in his overpriced blazer. And me, walking in with my head high, my strategy airtight, and not a damn apology in sight. I wasn't a CFO anymore. I wasn't a legacy leader or a placeholder. I was the architect of his defeat. And God, I was alive. You ever walk into a room and feel someone's ego before you even see their face? That was exactly what hit me the second I stepped into that conference center. Big glass atrium. Industrial carpet that tried real hard to look techy. Bad coffee smell. Rows of folding chairs facing a stage with 4 flags and a projector screen stuck in the early 2000s. And him, Drew Langston. I didn't even have to look around. My skin reacted before my eyes did. It was like my body remembered the temperature drop that always came with his presence. Cold ambition. Plastic charm. You know the type. He was posted up near the coffee station, talking to some suit with a badge that screamed procurement. His blazer, tailored within an inch of its life, was that expensive kind of navy that looks black unless you're under direct light. Hair slicked back, smile fake, posture cocky, and when he saw me, oh, you should have seen the flicker. His eyebrows ticked up just enough to betray the shock before that signature smirk slid back into place like a damn mask. "Sienna," he said, smooth as a snake. "Didn't expect to see you here." I stopped just a few feet away, took a slow sip of my coffee, no rush, hazelnut, cream, 2 sugars, as always, and smiled. Small, sharp, surgical. "I'm sure you didn't." I didn't say another word. Just walked past him like he was a pop-up ad. That moment, it wasn't about grandstanding. It was about presence. I wanted him to feel it, that the woman he shoved out the back door was now standing right in front of him, holding the blueprints to his downfall. Corvest was slotted last in the presentation order, 4th out of 4, which meant I had to sit through 3 entire pitches before ours, each one reminding me of every dry, jargon-packed meeting I ever suffered through. The first team was decent, polished, safe. The second team was flashy, with a demo video that ran 5 minutes too long and 0 actual substance. The third? Verity Sync. Drew took the lead, of course. I won't lie, he knew how to work a room. His voice hit all the right tones. Confident, clear, controlled. He had that Silicon Valley cadence, like every sentence had been run through an algorithm for maximum engagement. But underneath all the sparkle, it was the same tired strategy I'd seen him recycle a dozen times. All flash, no depth. I watched his slide on cost efficiency and nearly laughed. The math didn't check out. I taught him those formulas, and I knew he cut corners when the answers didn't serve his ego. Then it was our turn. I walked to the front with my team like we were storming a castle. Navy blue suit, crisp white shirt. No jewelry, just that gold pen in my breast pocket. A quiet flex. A reminder that I came to write a new story. I opened the pitch. No hype. No fluff. Just calm clarity. Good afternoon. I'm Sienna Maddox, Corvest's strategic lead on this proposal. We've reviewed the RFP thoroughly, and I'd like to walk you through a solution that speaks directly to your priorities, security, usability, and long-term value. And then I went in. I didn't just recite slides. I taught the room, made eye contact, spoke like they were real people, not data points, broke down complex systems into simple steps, framed every feature in terms of what it would save, not just in money, but in headaches, in human hours, in legal risk. About halfway through, I caught Drew shifting in his seat. That tiny, involuntary movement people make when they know they're losing control of the room. It gave me life. When Carly stepped up to demo our dashboard, she nailed it. Walked through the interface with ease, showed how it integrated with legacy systems, and scaled with minimal training. Then our dev lead covered the back-end security protocols stuff Drew's team had glossed over entirely. We ended with a breakdown of cost versus impact, and I dropped the hammer. One of our core philosophies at Corvest is transparency. So we've built this proposal not just to impress you, but to prepare you. For rollout, for onboarding, for growth. Because we don't want to just win this contract. We want to earn your trust. I closed the deck, paused, let it breathe, Then I stepped back, quiet confidence radiating off me like heat. The silence that followed? Heavy, charged, respectful. And then applause. Not thunderous, but steady, real. I caught the eye of one of the panelists, a senior official who'd been stony-faced all morning. She gave the smallest nod, just once. It felt like fireworks. As we left the room, the hallway buzzed with quiet conversations. My team peeled off, heading toward the lobby. I ducked into the restroom to breathe, just for a second. And of course, he was waiting outside. Drew, leaning against the wall like he owned the place. Arms crossed, that smug half-smile barely holding up under the strain. "This is personal for you, huh?" he said, eyes narrowing. I tilted my head, lips twitching. This is business. But if it feels personal, maybe ask yourself why. And I left him standing there, still trying to figure out how the hell the woman he dismissed as too old school had just wiped the floor with him. But deep down, I think he already knew. A week later, I was sitting in my kitchen in the same spot where I'd read that email, the one that booted me out of Verity Sync. The same spot where I'd spilled my coffee and watched my hands shake. But that morning, my hands were still. There was a faint breeze coming through the cracked window, just enough to move the edge of the mail on the counter. I had my playlist on low, Al Green humming through the speaker, eggs sizzling in the pan, and my laptop open beside me. I wasn't even looking at it when the email landed. Subject line, award notification, GovTech contract. I froze. Clicked it open. And there it was, Corvest. Selected. I didn't scream, didn't jump up or call anyone right away. I just breathed, deep, long, full. Then I reached over, muted the music, and walked to the window. The city was alive below me. Buses pulling up. Folks walking to work. Someone jogging in the park across the street. And I just stood there, forehead against the glass, smiling. Quiet. Whole. And when I finally sat back down, I pulled out my phone and sent Drew a text. Just one word. Congrats. No punctuation. No shade. Just clean. Crisp. Surgical. He didn't respond. Didn't even leave me on read. But I know he saw it, and that was more than enough. That same night, I got a call from Wes. I was already 2 glasses into a bottle of Pinot Noir, feeling good, cozy, barefoot in sweats. He didn't even say hi. "You got a minute?" he asked, his voice a little too serious. "Always," I said, propping my feet on the couch. "We've been watching you, Sienna. The way you handled that pitch, the team you built. Hell, the way you think." He paused, and I could hear the smile forming. "You're not just a consultant anymore. You're Corvest's new chief strategy officer. Full C-suite. Partner track." I blinked. Wait, are you serious?" "Dead serious. It's yours if you want it." There was a long pause where I didn't know if I was gonna laugh or cry or drop my wine glass. But I just breathed in through my nose and said, yes. Hell yes. I barely slept that night. Not because I was nervous. Because for the first time in years, I felt like my life actually belonged to me. It was mine. Not a title someone gave me. Not a role I had to protect. Not a seat I begged to keep. It was mine because I built it, brick by brick, scar by scar. You know what's wild? I used to think stability was the reward. That if I just played my cards right, kept my head down, didn't make waves, I'd get to stay in the room. But losing my job? That didn't break me. It birthed me. Now I walk into rooms with a different kind of weight. Not because I'm trying to prove something, but because I know who I am. And I like her. She's sharp. She's honest. She doesn't ask for permission, and she doesn't chase validation. A few weeks later, I got an invitation in the mail. Verity Sync's rebrand launch. It was printed on thick, pretentious paper. Black and silver. Very Drew. I stared at it for a long second before tossing it straight into the recycling bin. Didn't even flinch, because I'd already RSVP'd to my own future. And let me tell you something. When they say you're too old school, smile. Say thank you. then go out and build the school they're not even smart enough to attend. I picked out new office furniture the other day, sleek but with warmth. Bookshelves instead of display cases. Plants that don't need much light but still grow tall. My glass board? It's back. But this time, no one's wiping it clean but me. The people I hire now? They're not just smart. They're kind. They're hungry. They speak up. They're not afraid to challenge me, and I love that. Because that's what real leadership looks like. And every time I sit at that desk, pen in hand, I think about the day I walked out of Verity Sink. That hot coffee on my skin. My pride tucked into my coat pocket. My heart bruised but still beating. And I think, damn, I made it. Not back. Forward. So, if you're sitting in your car right now or curled up on your couch, feeling like the world just pulled the rug out from under you, hear me. Sometimes losing the thing you thought defined you is the very thing that sets you free. And once you taste that freedom, once you realize that you can be fired and still rise, no one ever gets to cage you again.